until a kaleidoscope of fire in vivid color engulfs her. 1. Houston. When the final bell rang at Bruce Elementary School on a warm May afternoon, Jane Aaron's best friend Nicole, a teacher like Jane, helped her carry her things to the car. "Wow," Nicole said as she wedged a box into Jane's trunk. "This is kind of like the end of an era, isn't it?" "Not at all," Jane said unconvincingly. She shut the trunk. "It's just a break, Nick. I'll be back next fall." She wrapped her arms around Nicole and gave her a hug. "Okay, here I go, off to tell them." Nicole smiled and tucked a curl behind Jane's ear. "Hang in there. Hang in there," as if Jane had been dangling from the end of a rope, twisting in the wind, which, when she thought about it, wasn't too far off the mark. "I'll call you later and tell you how it went." "You better," Nicole warned her. She looked at her car parked next to Jane's. "Don't you dare leave without talking to me, Janie," she added, and glanced sidelong at her friend. "Nick, it's just one summer," Jane assured her. "I'll be talking to you a million times. I'll call you in a little while, okay?" Nicole smiled again. She had a great smile, a Colgate smile, and with her dark hair pulled into a ponytail, and her little Bruce Elementary Rocks badge on her shirt, she looked like the poster child for wholesome second-grade teachers everywhere. "Okay, good luck with the fam," she said, and with a cheery little wave she walked to her car. Jane got in her car too and made it halfway down the street before she pulled over, put the car in park, and covered her face with her hands. "What am I doing?" she whispered. "Seriously, what am I doing?" "Finding yourself," she answered silently and groaned. That sounded so cliched, such new age crap. But in her case it was true. She was literally, truly finding herself, or rather the woman who'd given her away. When Jane pulled into the back parking area outside the garden restaurant that her family had owned and operated for years, she couldn't make herself get out of the car. They were in there, her family, getting ready for the evening rush. Just imagining them working together, laughing and playing that stupid game with the creamers gave Jane butterflies of anticipation and dread. She was going to walk into that happy little scene and tell them that after much thought, she'd decided to go and search for her birth family. She'd actually practiced her speech last night in front of the bathroom mirror. "My decision did not come lightly," she'd said gravely to her mirror, as if she'd been some politician removing herself from office. But it was true. The decision had not been easy to make. Naturally, Jane had wondered who she really was for a long time, but she hadn't realized just how much she'd wondered, how deeply that question had sunk into her marrow, until Jonathan, her boyfriend, had asked her to marry him. Jonathan's proposal had not been unexpected. It had been the natural progression of their relationship. Jane had figured it was coming, and she'd figured she'd say yes. But the moment Jonathan had asked her, Jane had been stunned to discover that she hadn't been ready to say yes. She hadn't known why her epiphany had occurred at that inopportune moment. She'd just known that something had felt wrong, and even a little raw, and she'd not been able to commit fully to Jonathan. Not yet. Jane would be the first to admit that she could be a little obtuse about her feelings. She wasn't very good at self-examination, and preferred to go through life happy and cheerful and looking forward, always forward. But her reluctance to say yes to Jonathan had dredged up a whole lot of emotions she'd realized she'd been feeling for a while. Such as, was he really the one? And how could she know who was really the one when she didn't know who she was? The more she came to understand that knowing the who and why of herself had been questions in her for a long time, the emptier and more uncertain she began to feel about everything. About marriage and kids and family. About her thesis, the one thing she needed to finish in order to get her graduate degree. She couldn't move on with her life, not without answering a very basic and fundamental question about herself. Who was she? Of course, Jonathan didn't understand her sudden change of heart, but he was at least trying to. Neither did the people inside.